Welcome to Studio Live today and the first episode of GarageBand Weekly, which is a brand new weekly show all about the world of GarageBand. So whether you're using a Mac or an iPhone or an iPad, if you're creating it using GarageBand, there's going to be something in this show for you. Today on the show, we're talking about the news. We've got some news about a new GarageBand update with a new tone collection, some new apps that have been released that have caused a bit of a stir in the mobile world. On my rant of the week, we're going to talk about compatibility between Mac and iOS. We've got a tip of the week around using the master volume, the FX for a master fader, and our plugin of the week is something to help you reduce noise in your recordings. So all of that and more coming up here on the show. But if it is your first time here on Studio Live today and you don't know who I am, my name is Pete and this is Studio Live today. And my goal, my passion around here is helping you create, record and release your best music. And I do that through tips and tricks and tutorials and live shows just like this one, because we are live, we're recording live here. So hello to all of the folks who are tuning in for the very first show. Thank you for being here. If you have questions and you are here live, we will have a question section towards the end of the show. So you can get those questions ready. If you want to help me out, if you're here live, just put the word question, preferably in caps at the start, and then I'll know that that in the chat needs to be actually answered. And we'll get to our questions later in the show. But let's jump in to our first segment here, which is in the news. Now, I don't have any big stings yet, but clearly I should be creating them, shouldn't I? I should get into GarageBand and I should go dun 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 dun. There you go. I guess I just did one. So let's talk about what's been happening in the last week in the world of GarageBand. We have a new update. So yes, if you are a GarageBand iOS user, so using GarageBand on your iPad or your iPhone, we've got some new bass amp tones called the Bass Amp Boutique. I reviewed it about a week ago when it first came out, and there is a video in the description of this video that you can check out if you want to see and hear the bass tones. They are very cool. So it's only a very small pack. It's about 1 megabyte to download because all it is a bunch of presets. So it's presets for your amps, it's presets for your stomp boxes and all the plugins and effects and EQ. So what you do is you add it to an amp sim track and then you can play your bass guitar. But as I said in the other video, if you are not a guitar player or a bass player, you don't have a real bass, don't worry. You can actually use loops. You can use the virtual bass. You can use any instrument really. You can put an 808 bass and then put it through a like a Fender bass amp. Like it's very flexible. So check out the video if you haven't already. You can just search Pete John's GarageBand update, or again, if you're watching the video here on YouTube, you can check out the description. And please do download the new pack. Have some fun with it. Create some cool music. Also in the news, Cubasis 3 has been released. Now you're saying, Pete, this is a GarageBand show. You're talking about Cubasis. Well, yeah, I know a lot of folks don't just use GarageBand. They use other apps and other DAWs, DAWs, digital audio workstations. And Cubasis is one that is made by Steinberg. And it is probably one of the more popular and well-known DAWs outside of GarageBand. There's also others like Beatmaker 3, Auria Pro, a bunch that I'm probably forgetting, and leaving a Core Gadget. So there's a heap of different ways that you can record. Now, Cubasis 3 being released has caused a little bit of angst because there's no upgrade path from Cubasis 2. So it's a completely new piece of software, completely new app. So you do need to basically purchase it outright. So the Cubasis 2 users have been a little bit vocal about this because, yeah, it would be nice if you've been using it for a long time to get that upgrade path. But no, it is a completely new app. I will be reviewing it in the next couple of weeks here on Studio Live today. I've never actually used Cubasis, which is weird because I'm a massive Steinberg fan and it is their software. Like I buy their interfaces. I've used Steinberg interfaces for about 4 or 5 years, yet I've never actually used Cubase or Cubasis. They're two flagship DAWs, and they give it to you for free. They give you the light version when you buy an interface. So go figure why Pete hasn't actually installed those and played with them. So the Cubasis 3 is out for those who are interested in that. The third piece of news we're going to talk about is a $99 iOS app has sparked an app price debate. So within the different communities and forums where folks are talking about mobile apps particularly, but it relates to desktop apps as well. So here's the thing. Generally, desktop apps or plugins that you use with GarageBand or with any other DAW cost about 2 to 3 times as much on the desktop as they do on iOS. It's just been the way it is, usually because the iOS versions are cut down versions. They don't have all the features. Sometimes they don't have all of the functionality of the desktop version. So things like Klevgrand, who've got a good special at the moment, we'll talk about that in a moment, but when they do a 50% off their apps, the desktop apps are usually something like $49 or $59, and they go down to like $29, but the iOS apps are $14.99, they go down to like $7. So we're used to, in the mobile world, paying less for apps. And the reason that this app, which is a $99, it's a Hammond B3 organ that IK Multimedia have released. I have seen some reviews. It does sound really good, but there a lot of folks are saying, hey, if we have to pay $99 for every app, that we're going to go broke, and we shouldn't be paying the same amount. Thing is, it's still not the same price as the desktop app, and it's not. I don't think it's an indicator that the days of the 99 cent or the $4.99 or the $9.99 app are gone. I think it's just the market will be what the market is, and I know some people don't like that answer. They want I actually don't know what most users want, because it tends to waver between people that think that art is art and app developers should be making apps 100% for free for the love of it, and there's other people that are like, no, app developers need to be paid fairly for the work that they do. I sit more in that camp, because I think if people are working hard and creating apps, then they should, and I think that if they price them at such a point that they're priced out of the market, then no one will buy them, and they'll have to either drop the price or review the apps that they're creating. So again, I know that it feels like, oh, they're being held over the barrel and they're charging whatever they want to charge. Well, yeah, only if you buy it. So the market will only bear what people will afford to pay. So I guess my bottom line and my view on this is, if you don't think a $99 app is worth it, spend your $99 and buy $25 apps, and you'll probably get a lot more flexibility out of your recordings. Anyway, that wasn't meant to be the rant, because this is the rant. Again, I need a little jingle. Rant of the week. Rant of the week. Let's talk about Mac and iOS compatibility, shall we? So we have this app called GarageBand. It is on our iPhones and our iPads. And if you use an iPhone and then you want to transfer over to an iPad, you can quite easily just send it on over. The two versions on iPad and iPhone are almost identical, a few small variations to the interface and some other things. However, when you go over to the Mac, there is significant differences. So if you go from an iPhone or an iPad over to a Mac, it will work. It'll transfer all of your files. It'll transfer all your settings, your loops, your virtual instruments, and then you can go and start editing and start playing on the Mac, and everyone is happy until you go to try and transfer back. So going from Mac to iPhone or iPad is simply not possible. So what you have to do, you have to actually mix down your tracks to individual WAV files, or what are often called stems, and then you need to export those stems and import them back into your GarageBand iOS project. So let's say you had a couple of tracks of virtual piano and you send those over to your Mac. Then if you edit those on your Mac in any way, when you can't just send that project back and then re-edit those MIDI notes on your iPhone or iPad. You have to mix them down, audio files, back into your iPhone or iPad. So I guess my rant on this, or my view on this, is that there should be a little bit more work done for compatibility. And here's what I'm hoping. We haven't had a big version update of GarageBand for a while, and I don't know how likely this is, but I'm going to speculate here, or at least wish. It's nearly Christmas. My request from the Santa, the Father Christmas, the deity of GarageBand, is, why doesn't version 3 just have full intercompatibility? If we've got the Mac as a creative platform, and we've got iPhone, iPad, and Mac, so Apple want folks to use Macs, then they really need to work on that inter-app connectivity, so the ability to send it from iOS. So for me personally, I use a PC and then I use an iPhone and an iPad. So if I was Apple, well, for me to want to go out and spend $2,000 buying a MacBook, then I would want Apple to give a little bit more compatibility between the two platforms, because right now there's really no benefit for me having a Mac over a PC. There's nothing I can do on a Mac that I can't do on a PC that I already own. So if Apple want people like me to convert over, because there's a lot of folks like me, a lot of folks who are finally ingrained in the App Store and the Apple universe, but we don't own an Apple computer product. And I probably would if there was a compelling reason for me to do so. At the moment, there's not. I think compatibility between Mac and iOS would actually do that. But what do you think? If you are here live, let me know your thoughts, because in just a moment, we're going to swing around and chat to the folks here live and answer any questions and get any feedback that folks here may have. And of course, if you're watching on the replay, I love you just as much. And you can leave a comment down in the comment section. I'm always down there chatting to folks. I have this bit of this problem where I can't seem to let a comment go unanswered. I know it's a bit rare, and people literally put a question and then they're like, please reply. And at first I thought, why are people always saying, please reply, like in desperation in the comments? And then I went and watched a bunch of other videos and realized that it's actually unusual for people to respond to every comment. So yes, maybe I'm a bit weird, but I like doing it. I like chatting to you folks. So drop a comment down in the comment section. Let's move right on to the tip of the week. And this is one I did a video on just yesterday. This is for GarageBand iOS. And I promise I will get some of my GarageBand Mac cronies to give us some tips in future episodes for the Mac as well. But because iOS is my domain, this is one that I wanted to throw out there. So this is the master volume hack. So if you've used GarageBand on your iPhone or your iPad, you'd realize that we don't have a master track. And the volume slider, so the fader that you have for your volume, doesn't actually control the volume. Well, it does. It controls the volume of your phone or of your iPad. It doesn't actually control your output volume. So if you've got all your tracks up too loud, instead of going and putting every single individual track down, how do you actually manage that? Well, what you do is you tap on the FX button. You record in a little bit of FX on your phone or your iPad. You then delete that FX you've recorded. You tap on your mixer icon. You go into your settings and you've got a visual EQ. Then all you need to do is tap on the EQ and you've got the gain slider on the right-hand side. Now, if you want to follow along, check out the video down in the description, because I've just released a video, a fresh video. I have done this video before, but it was really clunky. What I'm basically doing at the moment is redoing a lot of the original videos, because I realized that I took about 10 to 15 minutes to say what I could have in about 4. So I'm doing the TLDR versions, too long didn't read, or TLDW, too long didn't watch. I'm trying to do some more succinct versions of the original videos that I did here on the channel. Plus my audio and video quality is substantially better these days than it was when I was starting out 4 years ago. So yes, if you do want to adjust your volume in GarageBand, check out the GarageBand Master Volume Hack, which is linked down in the description. I don't know why I'm talking like that. Continuing on. We're coming towards the end. We've got a few more sections here. Our plugin of the week. So this is one I'm pretty excited about, because you've probably heard me talk about Brusfri from Klevgrand, one of my favorite app and plugin developers, Klevgrand. And Brusfri is a noise reduction plugin. Now, I get asked about background noise, about hiss, about noisy vocals, about room noise, probably upwards of 5 to 10 times every week. And my answer usually goes something like this. Record with a good quality microphone and a good quality preamp audio interface. That's going to be your best bet to get sort of good quality vocals. But if you don't have that, record in the quietest room in your house, maybe not the toilet, but maybe a small room, and make sure that you have some soft furnishings and not reflective parallel walls around you that are going to bounce the sound. Always try to be on an angle and send it, because you don't want those reflections coming back in. That causes a lot of that reverby, echoey kind of noise. And then the final thing I say is, if all else fails, buy Brusfri by Klevgrand, because at the time I said it's $15 US investment, and you're going to use it forever, and you're going to use it on pretty much every video and every audio track that you get that has noise in it. It is just like magic. It's some voodoo kind of witchcraft stuff, because it just does an amazing job. There's nothing else really to be said about it. The way it works is you record your audio, make sure that you have at least a snippet where you're not talking or singing, so that you can use that. And what you do is you play it back, you hit the little ear button, and Brusfri listens to that noise, and then it adjusts the EQ and adjusts the settings, adds some filters to make sure that that noise is reduced. It's as simple as that. So if you are finding you're getting noise in your guitar tracks, in your vocal tracks, your spoken word, you're doing a podcast, all your videos, it literally has 101 uses. So I run it through a bunch of different things. Whenever I've got noisy audio, I grab Brusfri, and it runs as a standalone app. So you can just throw a video in there, do your noise, and then re-export the audio. add that audio back to your video, and it also runs as a plugin. So you can throw it straight onto a GarageBand track in iOS, and there is a Mac version and a PC version as well. So it's available as a VST or an AU plugin for the desktop users amongst you, and it's also available for iOS. And did I actually mention it? Yeah, I did. It's half price right now. So if you are here in December 2019, you can pick it up for 50% off. And now just full disclosure, I don't get any affiliate revenue from Klevgrand, but they are kind enough to give me evaluation copies of a lot of their plugins. So that's why I get to check them out. And then I let you know which ones that I think are worthwhile. And at the moment, Brusfri by Klevgrand is 100% worthwhile. Take a look at it. Check out my video. I've linked a video down in the description where I demo it. So if you're on the fence, check out my demo, see if it's going to be for you. All right, we are on the homeward stretch. Before I jump into my resource of the week, let us jump over to the comments and chat to the folks who are kind enough to be here live. So we'll jump through and see who we had here. We had Bubba. Hello, Bubba. Morning to you. Good morning to Jade Starr. Had a really fun interview with Jade yesterday. So I hope you're doing well. If you didn't check out the interview, that'll be 2 videos ago. So jump back into the channel here. Desolate Morning is here. Hello to you. Laura Ann Moore. We got Jim Quinlan here. We got Milton from Puerto Rico. Hello to you. Mr. Clado is here as well. And in the pre-show, I said the word caper. And Jade said she loves the word caper. we got Charlie here. We got Make Outro is here. Hello to you. Desolate Morning needs more coffee. Yeah, I need more coffee too. I've got my coffee here, but I'm going to need another cup. Feels like a 2-cup day, at least a 2-cup morning for me. Jade Star says, I tried out all the new bass tones yesterday. Some really nice distortion tones. Yeah, I started rocking out some Ben Folds 5. So Ben Folds 5 uses a lot of distorted bass guitar. And as soon as I put some of these tones on, I was playing the do. That's really fun. Really good and great for metal. 100%. JS90, great to see you here. Thank you for tuning on in. Tomiki, Ramon says GarageBand dope, Cubasis sucks. Okay, I haven't tried it yet. We'll find out. Let's find out together when I check it. Maybe version 3 will actually be as dope as GarageBand is. Question here from Make Outro. Any app that slows? Right. Now, this is an interesting question. So any app that slows down your tempo or slows down your music. So the question Make Outro had here earlier was the minimum tempo in GarageBand is 40. Can you go slower than that? And you can, but you kind of just have to go off the grid at that point. So if you're using loops and things, it's not going to work so well. But say you want a 20 BPM, if you want something really slow, you just need to use 40 and kind of halve it. So you're going to get a tap for every beat. The other thing you can do is make your own. So you can actually make your own tempo by just dialing in and using the drums to actually make your own metronome. And I've used that for things like 5/4 time and 7/8 time, where I need time signatures that aren't supported in GarageBand. You can do that. In terms of actually adjusting the actual the pitch or the speed of a sample, Jade has recommended EG Pulse, which apparently has that functionality. And I know my buddy Manderson Marcus Manderson, getting it right, who I interviewed the other day. He has an app, which I need to ask him about, which is sort of a sample stretching or compressing, which seems to have pitch and speed. But it's something I get asked a lot and something that I'll be working on in the coming time. Les Productions, Zevon says that Brusfri is great. So another vote, a thumbs up for Brusfri. So thank you. How do you Songwriting Studio? My man Dean Davis over at the Songwriting Studio. Great to have you here on board. If you need some GarageBand Mac advice, as well as the resource I'm about to tell you about, my favorite place, head over to, not my favorite. I shouldn't play favorites, right? One of my favorite places to go for GarageBand advice is definitely Dean and the Songwriting Studio. He has a lot of fun in his videos. He does a lot of really cool stuff. Head over and check it out. We've got a question here. Question here from Laura Ann Moore. I want to create my own ambient music for my meditations. I've practiced with some sounds in GarageBand and they don't sound very good. Any suggestions how I can improve quickly? Yeah, so ambient sounds. I haven't done a whole lot of ambient music, but the ones that I have done using ambient sounds, I love the Alchemy synth. So if you check out the Alchemy synth, I've got a few videos about it on the channel here. But for a lot of ambient music, you want pads and you want sort of swirling type effects. So a lot of those can work. There's also a lot of cool loops. So definitely check out, if you're starting out, I like the Apple loops. I like being able to bring Apple loops together and just experimenting with different loops and then playing over the top of them. So what I like to do is bring in a loop, like a nice sort of chilled kind of loop or beat, and then grab an Alchemy synth that sounds good and just play chords. So just put chords over them, one chord every 2 bars or so, and that can just really build, like really quickly, with that 3 tracks, you can build up a nice custom ambient sound. But a really interesting question, Laura, and maybe something that I should explore more. Shoot me an email if you'd like to be involved, or if you're working on that. And maybe that'd be a good idea for a future video, is creating some ambient chilled sounds, your own personal. I like the idea of that, your own personal meditation soundtrack. How cool is that? So Les Productions Devon says audio stretch works well. So we're just talking about plugins for stretching and compressing samples, loops, changing the pitch, changing the speed. So audio stretch is a recommendation there. And Maffy's Garden, hello to my buddy, Maffy's Garden. Morning, Pete. I've had a quick play around with Brusfri, seems to work pretty well. Yeah, and look, I'm not going to say that it's not going to fix things. So it's kind of the same thing about recording. If your song is bad, if your recording is bad, Brusfri is not going to suddenly make it amazing. It's not going to take something that's terrible and suddenly make it perfect, but it is going to help. What it's going to do is it's going to remove some of that noise so that it's not distracting from the song. And I've said this a bunch of times before. If you've got a bad song, badly written, badly played, you can be in $1 million studio with perfect, crystal clear quality sound. The song's still going to be crappy. Like, you need a good song. You need good stuff going in. Otherwise, the stuff coming out, and the word that I'm really thinking there, is not going to be good stuff. But yeah, thank you for your comment. Alrighty, so we are coming to the end of the show. I know it's flown by. It's so much fun talking about GarageBand. I could probably do an hour show, but I think 30 minutes a week is going to be plenty, and it means that we can have lots of fresh content every week, which would be a lot of good fun. Let's finish up. So my last section here, if we come back to here, last section that we have is my resource of the week, and this week I've got to give it up to Patrick over at the GarageBand Guide. So every week I want to showcase a different resource that's not me that you can go to for your GarageBand needs. And the first one that popped into mind when I said, this is episode 1, who do I talk about? What do I talk about? Well, it's the GarageBand Guide. So if you go to thegaragebandguide.com, you will get a lot of great information, tips and tricks and tutorials, GarageBand for Mac, GarageBand for iOS, and also a lot of gear reviews and related videos as well. So I often say to Patrick, I'll watch his videos. So at the moment, he's doing a cool series on plugins of the year and apps of the year. And he did one for Mac plugins of the year. And I got to the end of the video, watching, and then I'm like, I watched that whole video and I don't actually own a Mac. So that was all irrelevant to me. But I just like Patrick's style, and I like the videos he produces so much that I kind of, I forgot that it wasn't actually for me. So that, to me, that is a testament to the fact that Patrick produces some really, really good videos. And there are a bunch of different resources. I'm not saying it's called the guide. I say he wrote the guide on GarageBand because it's called the GarageBand Guide. So there's a bunch of different places. GarageBand and Beyond, Lewin's site. I got the Songwriting Studio with Dean Davis. Dan Baker makes some amazing videos. A bunch of people that I'm forgetting about right now, I know, that I'm not mentioning. But the good news is every week I'll be back and I'll let you know another resource, and it won't always be obvious low-hanging fruit like the GarageBand Guide. We'll make sure that we jump in. Jakob Hack is who I was talking about. The Sound Test Room with Doug. So there's a heap of different great producers of mobile and Mac-related, GarageBand-related, recording-related content. And there's the beauty part is that everyone's content is a little bit different. So you might say, why does everyone do the same thing? Surely there's like overlap. And yeah, there's a bit of overlap. We talk about similar things. But clearly, my style is very different from Patrick, who's very different from Dean, who's very different from a Jakob Hack. So yes, there's a lot of different ways, and some people will tune in with the way that I put information out there. Some people won't. That's totally cool. Good news is a heap of people out there creating content and creating tutorials and tips and tricks and helping you out with your GarageBand creations. So that is going to do it for this week. Thank you for being here. You can head over to studiolivetoday.com if you want to check out where you can find me on all the social media, on the Twitter and the Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and TikTok. And yeah, I'm too many places, right? You can always email me, pete@studiolivetoday.com. That's where I'm hanging out. And I'll be down in the comments as well. So if you got some value out of this, go down and drop a comment. Let me know what you thought and hit the like button if you did like it. If you didn't, that's cool too. You're allowed to hit dislike. It's a thing. It's an option that you have. Thanks again, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the show. I'll see you next time.